Hot off the press from an Activision earnings call, the following was announced about Destiny and Forsaken. Quote, "Some of our other franchises like Destiny are not performing as well as we'd like. We have not yet seen the full core re-engage in Destiny," said Activision COO Cody Johnson, which has led to the underperformance against expectations to date. Some players are in wait-and-see mode. If you're in, you're deeply engaged. If you're not, we think now's the time to bring players back. End quote. Forsaken apparently did not end up meeting sales expectations, and the company is looking at speeding up content additions and finding new monetization opportunities. The base version of Destiny 2 was made available for free on PC until November 18th. This is a permanent copy of base Destiny 2. All you need to do is claim it on a Battle.net account, which is something I highly encourage everyone go do, even if you can't run the game, even if you have no plans of playing on PC. It is free, no strings attached. The reason why this happened is because Activision believes that the barrier to entry into the game, not the quality of its content, is the main issue as to why people aren't getting involved in the franchise, according to an interview done by Variety. The only people who buy expansions are people with the base game. So if you give away the base game for free, you give people a chance to try it, and if they like it, they'll engage. Whereas if the barrier to entry is still $60, people maybe aren't willing to risk that entirely. That makes sense. Some eyes on the game is better than no eyes. So what are my thoughts on this, since many of you have been asking? My thoughts are, yeah, no sh**. Forsaken has made Destiny the best it has ever been in the entirety of the franchise, better than Taken King. Here's the problem. People got burned way too many times. Look at Destiny 1. The only redeeming things about Destiny 1 at launch were that it felt really good to shoot guns, and that the raid was pretty good. It launched into a decent, but not spectacular in any way, first expansion in the Dark Below, and from there I imagine a lot of people left the franchise, at least maybe until Destiny 2. Destiny 2 comes out to appease a completely casual and different audience, an audience known to leave games pretty quickly, while not capitalizing on many things that made Destiny 1 great towards the end of its 3-year cycle, while also aggressively pushing microtransactions for items that used to be earned through gameplay. This was Bungie's chance to get those people back into the franchise, and to be fair, they did. A lot of copies were sold in the short term, until those people again realized what a lackluster launch experience Destiny 2 was. It was then followed up by Curse of Osiris, whose only redeeming feature was probably the raid layer, a hardcore activity. Again, people got burned and probably ended up leaving the franchise for good this time. So, even with all of the good press Forsaken has gotten, do you really think that people who were burned not once, not twice, but potentially 3 times were willing to drop another $40, potentially $70 on a franchise that has had constant missteps? You're out of your mind. All I ever see on the internet about Destiny is how much money people have had to spend in order to get a version of the game that is actually good. Not to mention that people are probably apprehensive about Destiny 2 when Destiny 3 is likely an inevitability, and people might not want to invest in a character that could get wiped whenever 3 happens to roll around. Bungie has very much made their bed with this one. But things are better now. I think the community, even if it is smaller, is way more engaged than it has ever been, and I think the next year is going to be pretty good overall. The last thing I really want to see is Bungie having to speed up content updates and then have them be bad. Bungie cannot afford bad updates right now. The next couple of years need to go very well overall. Finding new monetization options, I realize, is a very scary thing to people considering what we have been through. For example, Bungie recently opened up the temporal rift, or surge, whatever it's called, in the Eververse, where they brought back emotes from previous seasons for people to buy with silver. The exotic emotes are colored differently so that if you got them in the previous season, yours would still be the original emotes. This is an example of something that I think is okay. It's fine. I polled a bunch of you, and I think the reason people were mad, or at least the number one reason, was because that they cost money. Would I be happy if I could buy some of this stuff with Bright Dust? Sure. I'm not terribly offended by this move at all. I think it's fine. I think it's nice that exotic emotes are recolored too. It shows some respect to people who got that stuff back in the day. They could have just made them the originals and made people mad. Overall, I think as long as Bungie sticks to their guns and continues to make the game better and better, they should hopefully be able to get more people invested in the franchise. Hell, even I'm open to potentially spending some silver on this game after over a year of spending $0 on microtransactions. I'm not saying that everyone should go out and spend a bunch of money right now, but I imagine with Forsaken being solid, invested players are maybe a little more willing to opening up their wallets. Another thing that would help, or potentially hurt Bungie, depending on the answer, would be to talk about the far future. Are characters sticking around? Are triumph points sticking around? Is all of the time that I'm investing into this set of characters actually going to matter in the future? These are things that matter to people. I personally don't care about starting fresh. I think starting fresh is okay, just as me, as a player. But for every one of me, there's probably about 100 that really care about keeping all of their stuff. These questions need answering. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that. I hope things turn out well, but none of this comes as a major surprise. I'm not as cynical as the rest of the internet, which is surprising considering who the hell I am, that I think Bungie is trying to nickel and dime everyone and their mother out of every cent that they have. I realize this is a business, and to their credit, things have relaxed significantly since last year's debacle. I know Bungie, and yes, even potentially Activision, is trying to make the best product that they can because that's what sells. No one sets out to make a bad game. So I hope they get it together, but Bungie made their own bed with this one. It doesn't come as much of a surprise. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.